Today we have a very special guest, Saverio. I'm going to read you a little bit about what Saverio is going to talk about today. The title of his talk is called Moving with Intent. And Saverio Marzocca is a Long Island-based entrepreneur. He's an athlete and an advocate whose journey reflects resilience, purpose, and community impact. Saverio has transformed challenges into opportunities to lead, compete, and inspire those around him, both in sports and in his professional life. When I met Saverio, the first thing that impressed me about him was how humble and genuine he is, and his pure desire to help other people. So it was with that I welcome Saverio today to share his experience and his journey with us. Please give a warm welcome to Saverio.
Thank you guys for having me, and thank you for making me sound a lot cooler than I am. But I am a T7 incomplete spinal cord injury. I have built businesses, lost businesses. I have a degree in civil engineering. I've played sports up and down the country. I've raced cars. I've competed competitively in jiu-jitsu. A ton of other things throughout the time. I've done that all while being in a wheelchair. So the opportunity's up to you. When I got injured, I was 19. I was a reckless teenager. In between college and working full-time, I'm a third-generation plumber, so I grew up on a job site. My parents had me young. My babysitter at the time was changing fittings on a job site and sorting them out more than once. By the time I was 15, I was roughing in houses, running crews. So when I got injured at 19, kind of just took my life for a whirlwind. Never wanted to go to college, never wanted to do anything. If it wasn't for my stepmother, who was pushing me, probably never would have finished. But at 19, I got into a car accident during a rainstorm. A car in front of me stopped short in the left lane. I tried to swerve around to miss it. I missed the car. I ended up rolling my pickup truck 3 times, then off the overpass onto the road below. Luckily, I didn't knock myself out or anything like that. I tried to get myself out of the car. Don't know if that's what sustained more of the injury. They rushed me to the hospital. Thank God I was awake, because where they wanted to bring me wasn't probably the most ideal place for a spinal cord injury, and I was able to speak and communicate. Upon arriving, I didn't really know what was going on. In and out of tests, I just remember that. It was definitely a interesting thing. They were trying to get in touch with my family. They couldn't. They thought it was actually a spam call coming in, which was funny enough, but until I went and knocked on the door. But I remember them coming in, and from a big Italian family, so I'm the oldest grandchild, and everybody around me was just chaotic. It was interesting to see. So for me, the fact of learning I was going to be a paraplegic and didn't know what it was told, or everybody was telling me different things, what I couldn't do, how I was going to live my life, and this and that, and nobody really gave any real direction. Not that I wanted to listen initially when I got injured. I didn't want to hear anything from anybody. I knew better at 19, and this wasn't going to be my life. But it didn't hit me till months later when I was home and starting to rehab that, okay, I got to accept this somewhat. I didn't really, being my family was so chaotic, I didn't really let anything settle in. I didn't want to show weakness to them. I didn't want to bring on a burden. I didn't know what my life was going to look like, and didn't want to push anything onto them. They took a lot on, but within 6 months, I was forced myself to drive, go back to college. Didn't know what I was going to go to school for at the time, and I'll be honest, I dropped out quite a few times before settling into anything. I pushed a lot of people away, and a lot of good people came back into my life during that time. And my family really stuck together for the most part and helped me get through. I've had good days, bad days, like everybody else in this room, whether you're injured or not. We all go through that, and I think it's important to know that the good days come with the bad days. And I will say that if it wasn't for meeting other people in spinal cord injuries or wheelchairs that were doing things, I probably wouldn't be in the same mindset I am today, 15 years later. Jumping right into college and getting back into things, I was around everybody, but nobody injured. And all I had was doctors and, therapists telling me what I can't do or what I needed and equipment and this and that, and it was just like a whirlwind. It's overwhelming, and you're like, oh my God, I can't take all these chairs and supplies and all this stuff. And it wasn't until a local advocate came knocking on my door and begging me to come play sports. And at first I didn't want to hear him. It's kind of like, just get the F away, like just leave me alone, and then I gave in, and it was one of the best decisions I've made since probably being in a wheelchair. Being around guys that have been in wheelchairs for 30 years or 10 years and, relating and seeing how they lived their life and traveled, and, they didn't hold anything back. They threw me right into the women things and had me traveling the following weekend to basketball tournaments and softball, and I played sports with those guys every weekend probably for 8 to 10 years, traveling up and down the East Coast and Mississippi and the West Coast. Then I was always a big lacrosse player. I didn't like many team sports. I grew up in martial arts and skateboarding and surfing, and but lacrosse was always my go-to team sport. And it's almost 10 years now. Wheelchair Lacrosse USA was formed in California, and we worked with New York City Parks actually to get them here to allow to run a program. Since then, with a lot of help, we've now had a team running almost 8 or 9 years. We held the nationals here, which was cool. We had 10 teams. Still growing program, so it's interesting to now be on the end of trying to run and organize programs for people with spinal cord injuries and other disabilities that come and play adaptive sports. But it's all a possibility out here. I never did anything with my engineering degree. I still am a plumber. I run my family's business, and I also started a restoration company doing fire, water, mold damage. I've had a couple other ventures elsewhere that some worked, some didn't, but it's all accessible. It's what you choose to take in. I choose something probably harder because a lot of the construction sites aren't as accessible, but we make do. I get around, my staff, employees, they're all great. They've become family, and they help me, and thank God for FaceTime and video phone calls and things like that, because anything's possible in that realm. It's for someone newly injured, I would just say, whatever you're feeling right now, whatever anxiety you have, whatever you can't feel to know what the next door is, everybody in this room, whether you're injured or not, has the same feeling. You don't know what the next step is. And put yourself out there. Stay healthy. That is the key. I've always worked out since I got injured. I always stayed in PT and played sports and powerlifted and done a bunch of activities, and then I got back into jiu-jitsu as an injured athlete and competed against able bodies and all up and down the country. But once again, I thought I knew better and wasn't listening to the people around me to protect my skin, protect things like that, because those are the things that'll really set you back and upset your life. I had a really bad leg infection from mismanaged, it was my own fault, care, and being injured after 10 years, your body's not the same. So I thought it would just heal, and it didn't. I ended up being on bed rest for 2.5 years, on and off, multiple surgeries. So I don't compete jiu-jitsu anymore, but with that said, I would have done things differently to prevent that, and I will preach to everybody here because I did not want to hear that when I was newly injured. I was like, I'll just heal. Everything heals quick and fine until it doesn't. So if you see something or you don't feel a certain way, speak up, because there are a lot of people that know better if you listen. But otherwise, put yourself out there. Do the thing that makes you nervous. That's why I'm up here. I don't like public speaking at all. It's the one thing. I can get behind a race car and drive 140 miles an hour. I could dive off boats and swim and ski and do things. That doesn't bother me at all. This makes me nervous. So thanks, Siraj. But I know you do. But do it. It's always fun. It's always good to see what the next step is, and you don't know what you're capable of until you do it. And you'll be surprised of what those opportunities bring and the people they bring. We're a community, and whether you think you need somebody or not, it's how you carry yourself and the way you present things in your life is how people are going to react to you. I think one of the biggest things I learned, if I was newly injured and in a bad mood and didn't want anybody around me, I got the same response back from the people around me. People felt they needed to help me, which I hated. I didn't want you to hold the door for me. I didn't want you to do those things. It was eye-opening when I carried myself how I always carried myself, and I didn't think of the wheelchair and just be the person I am. The reaction I got back was extraordinary, and I felt whole again. I felt somewhat myself. You'll never feel like you felt prior, but you can feel better and stronger, but you'll never feel that same passion. But you will definitely find how you present yourself, whether you're in a chair or not, the reaction that you will get back will definitely supersede anything else. And it's put me in a lot of good places and opportunities, and there are a lot of people out here that are willing to help, willing to do things. Harrison, Siraj, Angela, you guys have programs running for people like us, which is great. It changes lives. Everything you guys do is phenomenal. It had an impact on my life. Do the job they tell you not to do, or something that makes you nervous, or anything, like listen to people, because I like to travel before I got hurt. And whether it was for a weekend or camping or, wherever. When they handed me the list of all the things I needed at home, I was like, I'll never travel ever again. This is crazy. But being around other disabled people and spinal cord injuries, I learned I don't need any of these things. I need what works for me. And that's trial and error. And when you learn, I travel very simply now. I could carry a backpack and a duffel bag, and I'm good. I don't need all these chairs and products, and a lot of the places are accessible, and there are plenty of things out there to make it happen. But when they don't, just do it safely, because it can get dangerous. But a couple slips and falls, and but it's all part of it. I know, going back to staying healthy, being on a new program and constantly worrying when you're first injured of, what that's going to consist of and how to tell your incontinence and things like that. I will say, move with the intent that I know X, Y, and Z foods. If I stay healthy, my body's going to work a certain way. Don't do the things that will affect you, or eat garbage, because your body's going to react to it. You'll know what's going to work for you, and listen to your body. You know, you might not be able to feel everything, but it will tell you when you have to use the restroom. Or, you know, you'll start seeing things. Your legs might start shaking, or you might get cold sweats, or you're going to notice that you might not feel it the way you felt it, but your body's going to tell you everything you need to know, and you need to listen. And if you do, you'll make things a lot easier for yourself in the long run. Did I miss anything you want me in
No,
here?
I don't think so. I mean, you did really well. I mean, there's going to be questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, questions I'm good with, so I'm speaking freely.
All right, we're going to do questions. I think that'll help,
Sorry.
but we're going to give you a pause. I also want to say that, like, growth always happens outside your comfort zone. So I really admire that you're doing something that makes you uncomfortable. But that's, you know, that says a lot, right? And you're doing it not just for yourself, you're doing it for everybody else. So I think you did a great job. Man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have questions? Yeah. Okay, here we go.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was awesome to hear. You said something that I often hear from folks who are experiencing like isolation or loneliness. You know that first moment when a local advocate knocked on the door, you just wanted to tell them to go away. Can you tell us more about like what was behind just wanting them to go away as opposed to opening up and saying yes? Because I think that's really important for newly injured folks to hear.
Good question. We laugh about it now because I'm very close with them, but I think initially when you're injured, the fact of you're surrounded by so many people telling you things and how you're going to live your life that you don't accept. Like, all right, I'm not going to be in this wheelchair. I'm not going to do things. And, you know, having somebody come to you right away in a wheelchair. And, you know, I laugh. He came at me very aggressively because I was young and healthy and wanted me to play sports. And he was like, let's go, come on. And I was like, I'm not even, like, out of a hospital chair yet. Like, leave me alone, dude. Like, come on. And then once I settled and, you know, started going around, and I kind of felt alone, not in a sense of, like, I didn't have family around. And, you know, at the age of 20, my friends were in college and moving around. So I was like, all right, I got to see what's out there. And one day I just called him, and funny enough, he didn't call me back for like 3 weeks. But when he did, they got me right back into it. But it's different from everybody because it is a conversation I've had with multiple people. Some people dive right in. They're willing to see what's out there and do it. Myself, I was not. I did not want to hear from anybody in a wheelchair. I did not think that in the beginning this was going to be my life, and I'll get over it and I'll heal and, you know, just bounce right back. I bounced back, but not the way I wanted to. So at that time. Hopefully that answered the question, but.
Yep, I got a question.
Yeah, that was an amazing talk that you just had. So I do have one question. How long did it take you to get back into the community post-injury?
In what aspect?
Like back to school or work and...
So within 6 months post-injury, I was re-enrolled in school. I started. I was driving again. Actually, I was back in college 4 months. I started driving at 6 months. At the time, I enrolled. My girlfriend at the time was going. She was driving me. Funny enough, we got into an argument. I was like, I got to start driving again.
That's usually the case.
That was the case, and thank God I did. That brought back a lot of independence and normalcy, I will say. But once I was driving, the fact of being able to put a sports chair in and not have to be caddied everywhere was definitely helpful. Like I said, within 4 to 6 months, I was back into sports. it felt like a lifetime at that point, but thinking back now, it was quickly. But yeah, I would say 4 to 6 months I was kind of back in the role.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is a very interactive role.
Something that really stuck with me was the salience of your memory in like the acute injury phase where you were being told what you couldn't do or how to live your life. So I'm wondering, given all your experiences now, if you had to go back and tell providers, particularly those who are able-bodied, something that would have changed that experience for you, what would you say or ask them to do?
I would just say, great question. From both standpoints, I understand why they tell you what is being said, because they don't know. They don't know. Every injury is different. Everybody's different. And I get it. It's a safe space, but sometimes it's not the best way to go about it. And I get you try to bring people in to talk in this, but like all of us we could have the same exact injury level, but our injuries are so different. I would just open up to more of the opportunities of what's there, you know. I would have never, you know, my new thing is, you know, racing cars. Like, I would have never thought I'd be able to race a car with hand controls and, you know, let alone buy, you know, my dream car to do so. And it was those things to show, and I think when I got injured 15 years ago, there wasn't a lot of, like, social media. It was coming, Instagram and things like that were just starting out. So the opportunities, the people, the, you know, activities weren't readily available like they are now. Kid could jump on their phone and say, oh, wow, this guy's swimming, he's wrestling, he's lifting weights, he's doing whatever. I think getting that in the hands of newly injured is important because it gives them the opportunity to see things. So.
I mean, that's the mission of the Back to Life Center, right there. So thank you for saying that. Yeah. I'm just gonna stay here.
I know, seriously. You know, first of all, thank you for sharing your story. You know, it sounds like sports really played a key role for you. And initially you were resistant. So was it the persistence of the person trying to recruit you, or was it something more internal? You know, when you decided, okay, I'm going to give this a go now.
I think it was more internal. He was persistent, but he backed off quite a bit when he saw I wasn't hesitant, and life takes on, and you know, they become busy and travel. So like him not answering me was probably one of the better answers because it made me look for other resources locally and found other teams and other sports, which was cool. And I didn't know how aggressive the sport was going to be playing in a wheelchair. I kind of thought it was just going to be like, some of it's hobbyist, but they take it very seriously. So going into culture shock, going there not knowing what I was walking into, I was like, all right, like, you know, we'll play some basketball, we'll do, you know, and realizing how competitive it was definitely helped because I think, you know, being 19 when I got injured and, you know, aggressive kid and all those things, like being competitive again was like, oh wow, like this is still there, like it's still able to go out there and compete and be around people, and you know, it took the edge off of like an anxiety of I don't know how I'm going to fit in here, but it definitely helps. Let's hear the ringer. Let's hear it.
I would like to know what was your main turning point for you to decide, all right, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. It's time for me to get back into life and do what I need to do. What was like your major motivation for it, to pull yourself out of the slump, I would say?
My family. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to have them have to worry about me. I knew I was young enough to figure stuff out. I had a really good mentor at the time, and he coached me to let me know that this chair doesn't define me, and it's a tool to get around. It's like the tools that I work with prior with my hands and did everything. This is just a tool to access my new way of life and use it for what it is. And I have. You know, I beat this chair up daily. It gets me to point A to B, and we're able to do everything I've done prior. I just do it differently. And learning that, don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of talks in the mirror and confidence. I mean, I think I woke up daily, every day for years on end. Still to this day sometimes, I wake up if I need motivation. I just tell myself I just want to be better and stronger and more capable than I was yesterday. And like, whatever that means, it could be financially, physically, you know, mentally, it just helped me. And the coaching on myself and pushing that through is definitely a big help.
All right. You mentioned jujitsu, right?
I mentioned jiu-jitsu.
How good are you? And will you demonstrate a move on your friend right here?
Absolutely. I have to right
Gotta
now.
do it. Gotta see it. That helped you out a lot, though, correct?
Jiu-jitsu? Yeah, because it was something I did prior that was a normalcy to go back and to do it with friends and, you know, peers that still did it. Was very motivating to me to be able to still compete and do things with them. It's a lot on the body. Definitely took a lot of strain, and if you're interested in doing so, I will definitely love to pass info on that would have saved me a lot more. But it's what you know now than what you did. But it was fun. Now they actually have adaptive jiu-jitsu programs, and there's a full tournament for disabled athletes now. That wasn't around when I started, but it's coming around.
The last question. This is what I asked the person.
One question from Michael. If someone has to go, then you could go again.
All right, Siraj, laying down the rules.
Okay.
Nobody's next,
Wait.
Oh, my God, okay.
Yeah. The past previous people ahead of you, I asked them this question. If you had the opportunity to go back the day you got injured with the full memory, would you still avoid the path you take now and just go back to what you wanted to do before, or you still help people like us with the full knowledge of your 15 years of experience?
It's a good question.
I try.
Thought about that question a few times. I'm sure we all have that have been injured. Would I go back and take the life I was before? Sure, I would love not to carry around this wheelchair if I didn't have to and worry about other things. But to be honest with you, all my experiences and the things I've done, the people I've met are well more than worth it in the long run. I don't know what could happen tomorrow, but I wouldn't change any of those experiences, to be honest with you. I've learned a lot. It's made me really dig deep inside and mature in certain ways that I probably never would have. Understand other people sometimes when you could look at them and they look absolutely fine, but you don't know what's going on inside. So you become a little bit more open and caring to what they're going. I mean, a good friend of mine made a good point one time. Like, we're easy to see. We're physically disabled, but you could meet anybody that looks perfectly fine and you have no idea what they're going through on their daily. And in that aspect, we have the better standpoint because somewhat visual.
Appreciate the answer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have a question over here. Okay, we have two. One here, and then I'll come over there.
Hello. Thank you so much for sharing your story. One thing that I was particularly drawn to was being able to own and operate your own business, as well as on top of the other entrepreneurial projects that you've been a part of. Over the evolution of the last 15 years, especially being in a very physical trade, how have you seen that evolve as a workplace setting? Because you are typically expected to walk around a job site or a plumbing job site, and how has that been for you as a worker and an owner of your business?
So, first injured, I always bounced around in the construction industry and did different things. I actually worked in this building at one point while I was in college, which was funny. Walking back in, it brought some memories, but I've done it all phases, and then I got into the engineering, and then I went back to the family business. Prior to the leg issue I had, I was on the job site constantly. I was crawling myself down steps. I was still working daily. That's what I knew. We never, we were a small business. Like, I watched my family, my grandfather and my father, build and work with their hands their entire life. So that's what I knew. Maturing and realizing that I'm not going to continue to do these. It's much more difficult now. Not that I can't do a lot of it. I still do. But I wanted to build a business. So learning more about businesses and technology and training people and doing has opened up a whirlwind for me. Definitely brings its own difficulties. But the industries are all changing. Like I said, like having FaceTime and quick access to pictures and knowledge, and it makes my life easier. It also makes some of the employees rely on me a little bit too much, but it's changing. I don't know for the better or worse yet, but it's making my life easier in certain standpoints, I should say, if that answers the question.
You mentioned in your story earlier that your stepmother played a big role in your recovery. Could you share a little bit more about that and how she helped you overcome kind of your internal barriers?
I'm lucky enough, I'm very close with both my parents and both my step-parents. They both remarried. My parents had me very young, so I was in an accident, and they made it work. They were kids, they were 20 years old, and had the opportunity to grow up with my grandparents and be around everybody. I kind of bounced around, but both of my step-parents have been in my life for over 20 years. And my stepmother is a very strong, independent woman. She is a teacher, and beyond, she's always looking for the next thing and working towards it. And she basically sat down, she goes, I don't care what you choose to do with your life, just make sure you have a degree, and I don't care what it is, and something to fall back on. And did not want to hear that. I did not want to go to school for anything. I wanted to just be a blue-collar guy, and I knew that wasn't really the option now. Tried a bunch of different things and did finance. I went for business, hated the accounting classes, and funny enough, I was like, all right, it's time to go into the trades. Picked engineering. They threw me right into an engineering accounting class, which I was like, oh, funny enough. But now I wish I paid a little bit more attention in those accounting classes, but she definitely was on my ass and a big supporter of it, so she's a big rock in my life to keep me motivated.
Any other questions? I guess I have one. You seem very much like your title was moving with intent, right? That you think a lot about things and you set goals, and it seems like you move toward them. Athlete, you have a business, you're an entrepreneur, an advocate. Like what lies ahead? Like what's not there now? Like that you're thinking about, like your next challenge?
I don't know that answer yet. I think about it quite often. Like I said, my new thing is racing cars. I got with a program called Just Hands, and they've took me under their wing in that sense. So I think my newest goal is to get a car that I'd be able to do wheel-to-wheel racing. But in order to do that, I need to make a lot more money because it is an expensive sport, and I realized I have to stay in my own lane when dealing with some of those people because they'll very quickly spend your money for you. So, what was that? Right now, too. Like I said, they spend my money very quickly for me. Yeah, with Torsten. He's whenever he texts me, I cringe because I know it's going to cost me.
Porsche or M3.
Yeah.
Upgrade.
Both. But in order to do that, I gotta create free time within the business. Right now, I'm too hands-on, and it's forcing me to continue to grow the business and be able to separate myself because I don't want to just have a job.
Please thank Saverio for it. That was wonderful.